Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing very well. I'm Sukhman Jotela, third year CSE student from Punjabi University, Patiala. Welcome you to the Carnival. The DSA Carnival is 18 days boot camp, which has gone to its another level. The today's topic is stacks and the queues, which is going to be covered up by Mr. Mayank Chaudhary, the technical intern at Geeks for Geeks and the finalist of Code Gladiators. So, the after the informative session is conducted, there will be a quiz session at the PrepBytes platform. For the link of the quiz, you need to keep a check on the description box. The winner will get the t-shirt from the PrepBytes. So, without wasting much time, we should invite our today's mentor, Mr. Mayank Chaudhary, for the information on the topic stacks and the queues. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sukhman. Thank you, Sukhman, for the introduction. And I hope everyone is safe and doing good in this time. And talking about myself, my name is Mayank, and I'm a final year engineering student. And today we are going to cover the two most important data structures, stacks and queues. So initially, let me tell you what will be our timeline for this session. Initially, we will go through the basic insights of stack data structure, and will get through its insights as well as the major operations which we can do with the help of stack, as well as the applications which we use in day-to-day life using the stack data structure. uh, After that, we will solve a very nice problem using the stack data structure as well. And then after that we will discuss about the after that we will discuss about the queue data structures. Let's start. We will start with the stack data structure. So please let me know if my screen is visible to you all or not. Just confirm anyone that is my screen visible to you all or not. Okay, fine. Thank you, Vinay. Uh, okay, okay. Guys, we will be starting with the stack data structure. So, talking about the stack data structure, uh, let's start first with its professional definition, and then we will go through its insights. So, talking about the stack, so stack is a kind of list, or you can also say that it is a kind of array with the restriction that it can insert and delete the elements from one end only. Let me show you with the diagram. So generally, a stack data structure looks like this. We can implement this using the arrays and lists in the general programming languages like C++, Python, Java. Okay, I think it must be visible to you all now. Okay, we were on the stack data structure. We were on the physical representation of how stack looks like. So basically, we can represent the stack or implement the stack using the arrays or list with the restriction that the insertion insertion and deletion, the two main operations of a stack data structure, these operations can be done from the one and only, and this and will be termed as the top. Okay, this and will be termed as the top. So this is basically a stack. From this and we can insert the elements into the stack, as well as we can pop the element, or you can say delete the element from this and only from the stack data structure. Okay. As we earlier discussed, the professional definition of stack data structure, it is just a simple list with the restriction that we can insert the elements as well as eliminate, or what you can say delete the elements from the same end only, and that end will be termed as the top. So this is how a stack data structure looks like. This is the top end of the stack data structure. From this end, you can insert or push the elements in this stack, and from the same end, you can delete or pop the elements from this stack data structure. In reference to the stack, generally when we push the elements, when we generally insert the elements into the stack, we termed it as push. Okay. So suppose if I want to insert the element X into this stack data structure, I will term it like I will push the element X into the stack. So when I will perform this operation push X over this stack, then this X will go inside the stack. Okay. When again, if I perform a push function over the Y, let me write it. So if I write push over a push function with the argument of y, I will push or insert the element y inside the stack, and y will be at the top. Okay. So it is till now it is clear that when we want to insert an element into the stack data structure, we will term it as a push, and we will put an argument inside the push function like this. How we put the argument x? If we want to push some element inside the stack, then we will put that element inside the argument, and that element will be inserted and will be represented at the top of the stack. Okay, so this was all about the insertion. Now let's talk about the deletion of an element from the stack data structure. Okay, so basically in the stack, as we termed the insertion of an element, the push function, similarly we termed the deletion of an element from the stack data structure as pop. Okay, pop function. And the one important thing about this pop data structure is that it doesn't take any argument. It just deletes the topmost element of the stack data structure. We can't delete the elements with our choice in the stack data structure. Okay, we can only delete the element which is present at the very top of the stack data structure. Okay, so if suppose my current stage of stack is this, at the very bottom x is present and at the top y is present, and if I start the pop function over it, then what it will do is it will remove the y from the stack data structure. Basically the element which will be present at the top will be removed first. Okay. So that's why this is the pop function, and it doesn't take any argument because we can't delete the elements from our own choice. It is mandatory that we can delete only the topmost element which is present in the stack. Okay, and that's how we perform the deletion in the that's how we perform the deletion in the stack data structure. And one more important thing I have to discuss, that when the stack is empty, okay, initially when the stack is empty and I push the element x inside the stack, then it will go at the top of the stack because it was empty earlier. But if my stack is empty at the initial position and I perform the pop function, what it does is, because pop function only deletes the topmost element, but with one edge case. If the stack is already empty, see, this stack is already empty, there is nothing present in this stack. So what it will do is, it will return -1 or something null. It depends upon your language, but it will return something like -1. That it represents that your stack is already empty. I can't delete anything from the stack. Okay, so this was All about the push function and pop function, basically the insertion and deletion of the elements from the stack data structure. There are two more functions we can discuss with the stack data structure. The one another function is a top function, and in some other languages it is also known as peak function. Okay, so basically, we now we will discuss about the top function and peak function. Basically, they have the same functionality. They are just different name using in the different languages. Okay, so what it does is, again, top function doesn't take any argument, or peak function doesn't take any argument. It just returns the topmost element, but in the top function it just returns the topmost element of the stack data structure. It doesn't delete it. The element remains there. Suppose okay, let me erase that. Okay, suppose the current stage of stack looks like this. We pushed first we pushed the x inside the stack, and then we pushed the y inside the stack. Then what will happen is, if I perform the top function over it, it will return y. It will return y to me, but the state of the stack will remain same. It doesn't delete it. It will neither delete y. It will not delete the x. Okay, so it will just return the y. And one another edge case in this function is very similar to pop function. What happens if my stack is empty? What happens if my stack is empty? So similar to very similar to pop function, as in the pop function it returns -1 if the stack is empty. That represents that your stack is empty and we can't delete any element from the stack. Similarly, top function, when we use the top function over the empty stack, then it again it will return -1, which basically tell us that your stack is already empty. There is nothing, there is no element present it, so we can't return anything from this. Okay, so this was all about the top function, or you can say the peak function. Now we have discussed the push function, we have discussed the pop function, and we have discussed the top function. Now one more function we can discuss about is empty. Okay, so we have the fourth function, that is empty, and what it does is, basically it tells us that is our stack is empty at the very current stage. Is our stack empty or not? It returns, it tells the current stage at where we are currently performing, and it returns the boolean values. Either it returns false or either it returns true. Okay, either it returns false, either it returns true. And what does it mean by false and true? So if my function is empty returns the true, so that means my stack is currently empty and it doesn't have any element inside it. Okay, so as the function name also mentions, is empty, so it just checks whether my stack is empty or not. And if my stack is empty, then it will return the true. But if my stack is not empty, then it will return the false. Okay, okay. This was all about the major four functions which we use over the stack data structure. Till now, we have discussed about the professional definition of stack data structure and its physical representation, also how it looks like. We also discussed the four important functions, or what you can say the operations which can be performed over the stack data structure. The first was push, then pop, then top and peak. They are same. just the difference in their name. The functionalities are same, and the last one was is empty. So till now, we have discussed the operations. We have discussed the operations of the stack data structure. Now let's look. Now let's look at some uh, practical usages of stack data structures where we can use it in day-to-day life, or where we are using it and we don't know how we are using it. So let's discuss its implementations and usages also. So can you guys tell some day-to-day life applications of day-to-day life real life applications of stack data structure? What is the difference between physical implementation in stack and queue in memory? Okay, we will discuss this question shortly, but just let first discuss the stack and queue, and then we will take this question surely at the last, so that everyone should have the idea of how stack and queue looks like. Then the difference to understand the difference between them will be quite easy. Game stack, okay. Books in order, okay. Call history. Yeah, this is some technical implementation of stack data structure. Quite nice. Reversing the string. Okay, we can do using the stack, definitely. Web browser history. Yeah, basically, web browser history, we store them, but what you can say is you in doing the undo while browsing the web, that is more clearly a stack implementation. WhatsApp messages, it's new to me. How WhatsApp messages use the stack data structure? OSIO, yeah, operating, and definitely operating system. Our operating system uses the stack data structure, the recursive calls. Yeah, files in download. Okay, API requests in REST. Okay, yeah. So yeah, backtracking problems, definitely. We have a lot of applications in the day-to-day life, as well as in the technical things, like the function calls. Each and every function call uses the stack data structure to call their nested functions. Recursion uses the stack data structure to be implemented well. Okay. um, we have the undo operation, which we look in the editors, which we look in the browsers while browsing over different things. That's also an implementation of a stack data structure. Solving the problems like balanced parentheses, or doing the tree traversals, depth first search, it also uses the stack data structure. Okay. If you have any more examples where we are using the stack data structure, you can write in the comments. And Talking about the day-to-day life application, the stack of plates is also an example of a stack data structure. Let me show you on the screen. Meanwhile, you guys can tell me more and more examples where we can use the stack data structure and where we are already using the stack data structure without knowing it. Okay, the stacks of plates looks like this. Okay, so you can assume it as a stack because this is the only end. This is the only end from where we are inserting the plates in this stack, and this is the only end from where we are deleting, or what you can say, removing the plates from the stack. So it is just the practical implementation of stack that initially I told you that stack is just a list of elements with the restriction that you can remove and insert the elements from the one end only. So this is quite similar. This can be represented as an array of elements, and from this end only we are pushing the plates and we are deleting the plates from the stack. So that's why it is representing the practical implementation of stack. And we can have a stack of balls also, the tennis balls. That's how it looks like. We took the balls from this end only and we push the balls from this end only. So that's why it is also representing the stack data structure in real life. For solving equations is jump instructions using stack. Kind of stack structure. Okay, nice. For putting and taking item in top open box, we use stack. Yeah, deck of cards. Sure. Yeah, that's why I was saying that stack is one of the most important data structure that we uses a lot in our day-to-day life without knowing about it. Uh, that's why it is very important to know about the stack data structure, its implementations, its operations, how it performs the operations in constant time. One more important thing is the all the four operations we discussed: the push operation, the pop operation, top operation, and the is empty operation. All the four operations will be performed in the constant time. That is big O of one time complexity. Okay, so it doesn't use the high complexity like big of n or n square. All these four operations will be performed in big O one only. So that's its huge advantage while solving some problem, and it helps us to solve some complex problems in a very efficient time complexity by just increasing some space complexity so that we can create a stack for the problem. Okay. One more thing we missed is that I just remember is the stack. Stack works on LIFO method, last in first out. Okay, LIFO method, last in first out. So what does it properly mean that last in first out? So let me show you it clearly with the diagram. So we already know that the elements will be inserted from this end as well as will be deleted from this end only. So if I first insert X here, see, X will be inserted here. Now if I insert Y here, Y will be at the top now. And after that, I push Z inside the stack. Okay. So now Z is inside the stack and present at the top. And when I start applying the pop operation over this stack, what will happen is the first element that will be popped will be Z only. Okay. So this is how it is LIFO, last in first out. So the element which arrived at the very last, okay, the Z arrived at the very last, but it will be popped out at the very first. Okay, so that's why it is LIFO, last in first out. The element that will be arrived at the very last will be popped out at the very first. So Z arrived at the very last, but it will be popped very first. Then Y will be popped, and then X will be popped. So the value X pushed inside the stack at the very first, but it got popped out at the very last. So that's the one more important property LIFO, which makes the stack data structure different from the queue data structure, because the queue data structure works on the FIFO methodology, and we will definitely discuss it while we will be discussing the queue operations. Okay, so now we are in the good position to solve a problem based on the stack data structure, because till now we have discussed all the basic instincts of stack data structure, as well as all the four operations which can be used and which might help us to solve the problem in a very efficient way. Okay, so now it's time to solve a problem, and the problem that is we are going to solve is a very popular and quite easy problem because of using the stack. Without a stack it is not quite easy, but after using the stack data structure, the implementation of this problem will become quite easy. We will be solving this problem, and meanwhile, you guys can tell the methodologies of how can we solve this problem in the comment box. Just let's wait for 1 minute so that you guys can read this problem. The problem name is valid parenthesis from the lead code, and we will be solving this. So just read the problem so that we can start solving this. Okay, scan a string and change in characters and check with conditions required. Uh, yeah, definitely we can solve this problem using the brute force solution also, but it will be first of all it will become uh, quite different of because we have to put a lot of if and else conditions while solving it directly with the if else conditions, and of course the time complexity will not be that good while using it the brute force solution. And of course in the interviews, the interviewer expects you to solve the problem with the optimized time complexity. So the stack data structure will help us to solve this in the optimized time complexity. Isolate by using maps by making keys of every bracket either close or open, then in the whole string by putting loads of. Yeah, yeah, definitely. We can solve a problem by different methodologies, definitely. But here we are going to solve this problem using the stack data structure because we already just studied that data structure and will by using this problem, I will tell you how we can use the stack data structure to solve some problems. That's why I'm using this problem so that every one of you can get the insight of how we just don't know the implementation details, but also we should know how to use the stack data structure in solving a problem in interviews as well as in the coding rounds. Using the stack, you don't have to go and put a lot of if and else conditions while solving this problem. So stack will make your life easier while solving this problem. Yeah. So I guess I hope every one of you have read the problem till now. So now let me read the problem once and let's discuss its problem statement and sample inputs, and then we'll try to code this problem also with the help of you guys. Okay. So the problem name is valid parenthesis, and in the problem statement it states that we have been given a string s which just contains the characters these brackets only, the left parenthesis, right parenthesis, the left curly braces and the right curly brace, and the left square bracket and the right square bracket, and we have to determine if the input string is valid or not. Okay, so they just give us a string and it contains these following characters only, and we have to determine, our task is to determine if the given input string is valid or not. So they also give a definition. What input string, what a valid string looks like. Okay, so and according to them, an input string is valid if the open brackets must be closed by the same type of brackets, okay, and open brackets must be closed in the correct order. So these are the two conditions that they state for having a string to be valid. So let's look at the first condition. Open brackets must be closed by the same type of brackets. Okay. So if uh, my string is something looks like this is a simple left parenthesis, and this is right square bracket. Okay, so here we have a left parent where we have a left bracket, and here we have a right bracket. So it might look like that this is a valid string, but no, this is not a valid string because this left parenthesis doesn't have any corresponding right parenthesis. Okay, and this right square bracket doesn't have any corresponding left square bracket. So that's why it is obviously they mentioned that open brackets must be closed by the same type of brackets. Okay, if we have a left parenthesis, then we should have a right parenthesis also. If we have a right curly braces in our string, then there should be a right corresponding curly braces also in the string. And the second condition is open brackets must be closed in the correct order. Okay, so it might happen that if the input string looks like this. Okay, so this is right parenthesis and this is left parenthesis. Or so in this string we have a left parenthesis as well as right parenthesis, but their ordering is not same. They should be like this. Uh, in this way we can say that they are valid, but not this way because uh, for each right parenthesis there should exist a left parenthesis before it. Okay, before it. Okay, so it is not a valid string because in this case for this right parenthesis there exists no left parenthesis before it. That's why it is not a valid it is not a valid string. So these were the two conditions which they mentioned for having a string to be valid. Now let's look at some examples for having a clear understanding of the problem, and then we will try to solve this problem. So in the example one, this is simply the left parenthesis and the right parenthesis. So definitely it follows the both the conditions, because the open brackets is closed by the same type of brackets. Yeah. And the second thing, open bracket must be closed in the correct order. Yeah. This condition is also followed. So that's why we can state that this input string is a valid string. And that's why we can return the true from here. So basically, at the end, we just have to return a boolean value, either true or false. If the given input string is valid, then we have to return the true. Else, we have to return the false. Okay. So now let's look at the second example. In the second example, also for this left parenthesis, we have the right parenthesis. For this left for this left square bracket, we have the right square bracket, and for this left curly brace, we have the right curly brace. So that's why we are also returning the true from this example, this input string also. Now let's look at the example number 3, which is, we first of all we have the left we have the left parenthesis, and then we have the right square bracket. So the conditions are not matched for the valid string to be a valid string. That's why we will return a false from here. Let's look at the example number 4. uh, in this example initially, first of all, we have a left parenthesis. After that we have a left After that we have a left square bracket. Then we have a right parenthesis and right square brackets. So why this is returning false? After all it is having the brackets of same type also. So let's look here. The given string is something like this. Okay. So basically the first condition is matched by this string, but the second condition is not matched. That is, the order is not valid, because if we have if initially at the very first character we have the open parenthesis, and at the second character we have the left square bracket, then for here we should have the right square bracket also, because otherwise if we have the right parenthesis here, then it cannot close this bracket. Okay, this right parenthesis, the parenthesis here, the square bracket here, this should be able to close the the recent opened bracket. Okay, this closed bracket should be able to close the recently opened bracket. And because in the problem we have been given a right parenthesis here, and here it is a left open square bracket, so they are not matched and the order is not same. So that's why we can't close them. That's why we will return a false from this, because this input string is not valid and it is not following the second condition that is asked in the problem. Okay, and let's look at the very last example, uh, and it is returning true. Why? Because first we have the open curly brace, then we have the open square bracket, then we have the close square bracket, and then we have the close curly brace. So what will happen is, initially these two things will be in the initial stage. Then what will happen is, this character, this close this closing square bracket will arrive, and this will delete, or you can say remove the open square bracket. So after that we will be left with these two things only. and we already know that this is a valid string also because it is following both the conditions. So that's why from this string we will also return the true because it is a valid string. I guess you guys must be clear with the problem statement as well as the examples we discussed. If you have any problem, you can ask in the comment box. And now we can start with the code part of this problem. We will be coding it in the Python language, but if you know the logic, you can implement it according to your choice of language. You can implement it in Java also, in C++ also. I'm quite comfortable with Python, so I will be implementing it in Python here. So let's start with the implementation part. So first of all, here we have to implement a class. Basically, the function that is present in the class, and the function is valid function. And in this valid function, we have been given a string s. We have been given a string s to find out whether this input string is valid or not. Okay. So I know I definitely will start solving it. So, can you guys help me? How can I start solving it, or from where I should start solving it? Like at the very first thing, what should I think? What should I initialize, or what I do? Just mention in the comments, and we will do that. Okay. First of all, what I will do is I will initialize a stack in the Python. So how I will do that? I will simply just use the list implementation of Python to implement the stack data structure, and it will help me to implement all those functionalities like push or pop in big of time. So that's why I will be using the list functionality. I will be using the list functionality to solve this problem as a stack. Okay, so first of all, I initialize the stack data structure. Then what should I do? First of all, I will create a dictionary, or what you can say the hash map in different languages. In the Python, we say it dictionary. And what we will do inside this dictionary, I will just uh, I will just push the key value pairs inside the dictionary, and the key value pairs will be in this form: left bracket and right bracket, left parenthesis, right parenthesis, left square bracket, right square bracket, left parenthesis, and right parenthesis. Okay. So in this format, I will push the key value pair in our dictionary. Okay. So let's see how it will be implemented. So for the left parenthesis as a key, I have the value of right parenthesis. Okay. As a key for left curly brace, I have the right curly brace as a value. Okay. Then what we are left with? Left square bracket. Okay. So as a key with left square bracket, we will be having the right square bracket as its value. And this dictionary will help us to find me at which type of parenthesis I'm looking for in the string. Okay. Now, what we will do? We will start iterating over our string. How I will do? For char, basically char is character, for character in S. Okay. So before now implementing the for loop, I want to show you something. of how I will be implementing the for loop part, so that it might be helpful for all of you if you are implementing in different languages. Okay, let's see the example of this. Suppose I have been given this string. Okay, so this is the string. We are going to perform the operations over it. Okay, so see, currently I have initialized an stack and my stack is empty. Okay, and I have initialized a dictionary which just tells me the respective open or curly brace. Okay, so now I will start a for loop over this string, so that I can go through this string. I can go through the each character of this string. At the beginning, I'm at this position. Okay, I'm at the very beginning of the for loop, I'm at this position. And what it represents is, it represents a left, or what you can say, the open square bracket. Okay, so what will happen if I get a left bracket of any type? Okay, what will happen? I will I will push that element inside my stack. Okay, I will push that element inside my stack. So at the very initial position, I got this left bracket. I will push this inside this my stack. Okay, now I will move to the next position. Again, the next position has the left curly brace, and again it is an open curly brace. And what I mentioned earlier, that if I got the left or open parenthesis, I will just push it. I will just push it inside my stack. Okay. So again, I will push it inside my stack. So now my stack looks like this. It has at the very top, it has the open curly brace, and at the very bottom, it has a open square bracket. Okay. Now we are at the third index, and now we got this. We got this. What is this? This is the right, or what we can say, the close curly brace. Okay. Now here is the thing we have to see. We have if any time we got any close bracket, what we have to do is we have to check, is my stack empty or not. First of all, we will check, is my stack empty or not. I see my stack is not empty, it is already having two elements. Okay, so what will happen is, now I will compare the topmost element. I will compare the topmost element with this current element. Okay, so what I find out, that these brackets are of the same type. Okay, so what will happen is, I will not push this element into the stack either, but what I will do is, I will pop this element also from the stack. Okay, why I pop this element from the stack? Because first of all, my stack was not empty, and the topmost element of the stack was the same type of bracket that is I'm currently on. And this is the condition when I have faced a close bracket, or what you can say, the uh, right bracket. Okay, so when I was at this position, I looked at the stack. Stack was not empty. It was already having the two elements. So that's why I checked the topmost element with the current element. I find out that they are of the same type, and that's why I delete, or what you can say, pop the element. Okay, so let me erase this. So now my stack has only one element present, that is the left square bracket. Now let's go at the next position. So it is the left parenthesis. And what I mentioned earlier is, if if I face the left parenthesis anytime while iterating over the string, what I will do is, I will just push the element inside the stack. Okay. So I just push the element inside the stack. Now again, my stack has two elements, the open left parenthesis at the very top, and the open square bracket at the very bottom. Okay. Now let's iterate to the next position. Now I'm at at this position. So this position has the closed, or what you can say, the right parenthesis. Now, as I earlier mentioned, now I will see two conditions. Is my stack empty? No, my stack is not empty. So I will try to find out what the element is present at the very top. So the element which present at the very top is of the similar kind of what I am at the same time. Okay, so what will happen again is, I will not push this element either, but I will pop this element also. I will pop this element also from the stack. Okay. So now again, let me raise this. So now we are at this position, at the very last position of the string, and we are left with only one element present in our stack, and that is the left or open square bracket. And now we are at the right square bracket. Again, I told you earlier that whenever we will get the right bracket, then what we will do is we will check, is my stack empty or not. Yes, my stack is not empty, so I will compare the topmost element from the current element, and I find out that yeah, both the elements are of similar type. So what I can do is I can remove this element. I don't have to push this element either, but I will also remove this element. Okay. Now after this, I am done with iterating the string, and my stack is also empty. So finally, after doing all the iterations, I will check, is my stack is empty or not. If my stack is empty, then the string given to us is definitely valid, because it is following both the conditions. It has the same type of brackets as well as in the order. But if after the for loop iteration my stack is not empty, then what I will return is, I will return false, because the given string is not valid. I hope the detail is all clear to you all, guys. Yeah, definitely. We have different ways to implement this. We can implement in any way we can want. We just have to use the stack data structure to solve the problem, so that we can solve this problem efficiently without having the time complexity of big of n square or m cube. We just want to solve this in the linear time complexity. So let's resume the coding again. So we were at the point where we started the iteration. Okay. So what what initial condition did I mention is, if my char, which represents the current character. Okay. If my char in D, basically the dictionary. So basically, if my char is left parenthesis or left curly brace or left square bracket, what I will do is, I will I will put this character inside my stack. Basically, push my character inside the stack. So how I will do that? I will just append the character in the stack. Okay. So now this was the condition. This was the condition for all the open curly braces, open square bracket, and open parenthesis. Now we have to write the condition. We have to write the condition for the close parenthesis. Okay. So what I mentioned while telling you the approach is that, first of all, we will check if my stack is empty or not. Okay. So if my stack, I will just find out its length. If my length of stack is greater than 0, that means it is not empty. Okay. If my length of stack is 0, and uh, length of stack is 0, and we will find the topmost element. How we will find the topmost element? By accessing the very last index of this stack, because see, okay, my stack is I initialize the stack looks like this. How I will append this? I will append one here, two here, two here. So the topmost index will be represented by the last index of this list. So that's why I will be accessing the last index if I want to access the topmost element of the stack. So if my length of stack is greater than 0 and stack of -1, that is, it is representing the last index. Basically in the Python, using this I can access the last element of the list. Okay, so I will compare stack of -1 by putting first it into the dictionary, because it will be some kind of left parenthesis. So I will check uh, if the left parenthesis is similar to the right parenthesis, char basically. So if my length of stack is greater than 0 and the current element is the matched with the left element present at the top, then what I will do is I will just I will just pop the element. I will pop the top element from the stack, and I will not push anything inside the stack. Okay, so that will be stack dot pop. Okay, now I have to write the else condition. Okay, what happens if my stack is not empty? Okay, see, uh, what happens if my string is looks like this? So my initial character is this. I will see if the stack is empty or not. Yeah, the stack is empty. So I will push this element inside the stack, because I can't compare this element with anyone, so that I can remove it. Okay, so I will just push it. So I will append basically in the Python stack dot append, and what we will append the char. Okay, and at the very end, what we will do is we will check if the length of stack is 0. If the stack is empty, then I will return true. Okay, that means the string is valid and all the characters got matched and got popped from the stack. But if the length of stack is not 0, that means there are some invalid characters, or the characters that are not at the correct position present in the string, and that's why we have to return the false. Okay, so basically this was the code part of this problem. I will just discuss this code part again, and then we will move to the queue section then. So basically in the problem we will be given a string s, and what happened is then we initialized a stack, and basically it was empty at the very beginning. Then I created a dictionary, or what you can say the hash map, or tree map in your languages like C++ and Java. Uh, our dictionary got the value in the key value pair. So this is my key, this is my value. So basically for each key I mentioned the corresponding bracket in the terms of value of it. Okay, so that's why in my key I have left parenthesis, and at the right I have right parenthesis. In the key part we have the left curly braces, and in the value part we have the right curly braces. In the key part here we have the left square bracket, whereas in the right part we have the corresponding right square bracket. Okay, then what happened is I started iterating over this string. So what happens is I check if my current character is the left bracket of any type, then what I will do is I will just push this element inside the stack. Okay, and what happens is if my current character is of the right side of any type, what will happen is first of all I will check if my current stack is empty or not. If it is not empty, then I will try to compare the top element or the current element with the element that is present at the top of the stack by doing this. And if it matches, then I will pop the element. But if it doesn't matches, then I will push the current element inside the stack. Okay, So after this, I will, after iterating over the whole list, what I will do is I will just check at the final that is is the length of stack is empty or not. So basically what the empty stack represents, an empty stack represents that the given string or the input string was valid, so I can return true from here. But if the stack is not empty, then I have to return the false, because it represents that the current string or the given string as an input is not a valid string according to the defined rules. Okay, so I hope the approach and the code part is very clear to all of you guys. If you have any problem, you can ask in the comment section. And now we will move to the queue section to discuss the queue section. And one more tip for you guys: if you are in interview, just don't focus on the coding part. Try to elaborate to the interviewer as much as possible, so that your intuition should be very clear to you, to the interviewer. It is very important that the intuition should be clear to the interviewer. If the intuition is not clear, then it might look like that you have done this problem earlier, so you are just doing the coding part. So tell and elaborate your intuition as much as possible in the interviews. uh, Now let's jump to the queue section. So queue is also a very important data structure as the stack. As the stack is very much used in our day-to-day life as well as in the technologies. Queue is also one of the most important data structure that we uses in the day-to-day life. Um, like in the stack we has the restriction that the input, or what you can say, the elements can be pushed and popped can from the same end only. But in the queue we have the flexibility that the elements will be pushed from the one end, that is the rear end, and the elements will be deleted from the another end, that is called the rear ends. So let me draw here for you. So this is how stack looks like. Okay, in the stack we push elements from here and we pop elements from here. Okay, and this is how queue looks like. This is the end from where we push the elements, and this is the end from where we pop the element. Okay, so in the stack we uses push for inserting an element and pop for deleting an element from the stack. But in the queue we uses enqueue. Okay, enqueue function. Enqueue function for pushing the element inside the stack, and dequeue function for popping the element from the queue. Sorry. Okay. So this this end is called as the rear end. Okay. This end is called the rear end of the queue, and this is the end from where we push the element, or what you can say, the enqueue the element inside the stack, inside the queue. And this end is called as the front end. Okay. And this is the end from where we pop the element, or what you can say, dequeue the element from the queue. Okay. uh, Stack uses the LIFO data structure. Okay, Last in first out, as we discussed earlier, what it states by last in first out, that the element that will be arrived at the very last will be popped out at the very first. Okay, but in the queue data structure it follows the FIFO methodology. So what does I mean by FIFO methodology? FIFO methodology means first in, first out. Suppose I enqueue the element X inside the queue, then I enqueue Y, then I enqueue Z. Okay. So the element that will be dequeued first, or what you can say the popped first from the queue, will be this X. Okay. So this X will be removed first, then this Y, then this Z. But in the case of stack, if I push X first and then Y and then Z, the Z will be popped first and then Y and then X. Okay. So that's the major difference between the representation, or what you can say physical representation of stack and queue. Stack has only one end, queue has two ends. In the stack, we use the push and pop function for insertion and deletion of elements, while in the queue, we use the enqueue and dequeue functions for pushing the element and for inserting the element and deleting the element. Okay. Stack uses the LIFO methodology to solve a problem, while the queue uses the FIFO methodology, first in, first out. X has arrived first, so it will be departed first. Okay, that's why it is FIFO methodology. It is based on the FIFO methodology. So till now, we have talked about the two major functions of queue, the enqueue and the dequeue. Now let's talk about two other functions which might help us. So the another function is front function. And one more important thing, that enqueue takes an argument like X, so it can push that element, while dequeue don't take any argument because it will just dequeue the element which is present at the front. But if the queue is empty, then it will simply return -1 to represent that your queue is already empty, so we can't delete any element from it. Okay. So similarly, there is another function named as front function. So what it does is, front function returns the element which is present at the front end. Basically, the element that is very most closest to the front end. So in this case, X is present very near to the front end. That's why it will return X only. And one more important thing, it will not delete the element. It will just return the element. So the structure will remain the same of the queue. It will not delete any element out of it. Okay. And it also doesn't take any argument, as well as if our queue is empty, it will return -1. If our queue is empty, it just represents that your queue is already empty, and you don't have any element, so you can't return anything. Okay. So this was about the front function, and then let's discuss the is empty function. That was also we discussed in the stack data structure. So basically, the last function, that is the fourth function, is empty function. And again, similarly, we use it in the stack data structure. It returns Boolean values, either true or false. So as its name states, that if the queue is empty, then it will return the true, and if the queue is not empty, then it will return the false. So this was all about the queue data structure. We discussed its definition, the professional definition. We discussed about its four major operations which you can perform with the help of queue. Now let's discuss some applications of it. So can you guys tell me some of applications where you have used the queue, or where you have seen that queue data structure is being using? Any examples you can give in the comments where we can use the queue data structure? Mall counter, movie counter. Yeah, definitely. In the queues, they basically they are using the queue data structure. The one who arrives first will get the movie ticket first. Music player playlist. Yeah, priority queue task scheduling. Definitely. Anything else? In operating system to maintain process. Yeah, basically in the operating system our stack is used as well as the queue is used. It just depends upon which functionality which we are currently performing. So in the operating system we can give the example of operating system definitely in the case of stack as well as in the case of queue of people. Yeah, yeah, BFS, breadth first search. Definitely I was looking for this. In the DFS, while we do the DFS on a tree or a graph, in the depth first search, basically we uses the stack data structure, but we can traverse the tree by using the queue also. That is called the breadth first search, where we do the level order traversal of the tree. Train ticket counter, BFS traversal. Yeah. FCFS scheduling algorithm, first come first serve. Yeah, that's basically an operating system algorithm that our operating system uses to solve the problems which happens inside our system, or solve the or just they schedules the things like this thing will be done in this way, or this thing will be done in this order. So they just schedules. That's totally operating system what it do. Anything else? Okay, fine. Yeah, these were the same examples that I was looking for to discuss with you. The most important were in the practical life is the queue of people and the movie counter. Basically, I as I stated that the person who will arrive first will get the tickets first. So here we uses the FIFO methodology, first in, first out, first in, first out. In the operating system, we uses the queue data structure. In the music player, definitely train ticket counter. One of the most important is BFS traversal, the breadth first search traversal. When we want to do the when we want to do the level order traversal of a tree, we use the queue data structure. But when we want to do the depth first search traversal, we use the stack data structure. Flow of water in hose pipe. Yeah, definitely. Definitely we can have a lot of examples in the technical field as well as in the real life of both stack as well as the queue data structure. These are the two data structures which are most often used in the day-to-day life as compared to the other data structures. So I guess till now we what we have discussed from the starting is we discuss about the stack data structure, then we discuss about its operations, we talked about its applications, and then we solved a nice problem of valid parenthesis using the stack data structure. And finally we discuss about the queue data structure, also about its operations and about its applications. So I hope that all these things should be clear to you all guys, and this is from my end. If you have any queries in this you can ask, otherwise we can end this session. view of consumer for resource. Definitely. Yeah. So that we can determine where we have to stack and queues. So first thing is, this is, I know this is very common problem, that how to determine which data structure we have to use at which time. But this thing comes from the experience. When you will solve 10, 12 problems of stack data structure and queue data structure, you will get the intuition that in this problem I can use the queue data structure or the stack. So definitely it will come with the experience. Just solve 10 to 12 problems on each topic, and then you get to know that which data structure should I use in this problem so that I can solve this problem efficiently.
Thank you, Mayank sir, for such an interactive session. You made such a tough topic easier for us to understand, and you even encouraged us to learn more. Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure of mine. Welcome.
And
Thank you.
yes, sir. And thanks the audience for being such a patient listener. The yesterday's winner is Akshita Sharma. So keep a check on the description box for the link of today's quiz. You could be the next winner. The winner will get the t-shirt from the Prep Bites, and the quiz is conducted on the Prep Bites platform. So be ready. Keep a check on description box. And one more thing, guys, I want to announce one of my fellow's mother is currently infected due to the COVID virus and is getting treated in the Yashoda Hospital, Hyderabad. She is facing some financial issues. So it would be great if you guys can donate more or less and support us to save her life. The link to donate is given in the live chat as well as in the description box. So please